Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to indulge myself and talk about numbers and figures. So as an engineer, I do love everything about numbers and figures and analysis and drawing observation and conclusion from numbers. So that's what we're gonna do with my 2020 reads. So overall, I'm very happy with the reading here. I've read 120 books, which is like, if you told me that like 2 years ago, I would have been like, never would read this amount of book in just 1 year. Like, it's crazy to me still. Which amounts to 45,000 pages, which can be a lot. Like, I think on average it's like somewhere around 400 pages per book. It's because I've read the Stormlight Archive this year, and those books are like 1,300 pages. So in month, this amounts to those graphics. And my best reading month was February, and I was trying to remember what did I do specifically in February. I don't know, except maybe like reading a lot of your audiobooks. This is gonna be the conclusion of the year, by the way. Reading a lot of audiobooks, you can read a lot of books. Stars rating, I'm very happy. I have a good amount of 5 stars, 4 stars, and 3 and 2 stars, 1 stars. I think I'm getting to know more and more my reading taste. Of course, I'm still gonna have like 3 and 2 stars as I discover, because I expand to some genre or some trope that I didn't know if I would like or not. So sometimes I'm gonna love it, sometimes I don't. And here's the key to me reading 120 books. The format that I've read, of course, mainly audiobooks this year. Last year, I think I was still more on paperback, but this year I crossed the line and I've read a lot more audiobooks. It's just the easiest way for me to consume them. I am a slow reader in French and an even slower reader in English, because sometimes I stumble upon words when they're written, but when I listen to them, I am quite used to listening to movies and news and YouTube. So I already know them by hearing them, but sometimes I'm much slower to understand them recently. And in fantasy as well, it's harder when words are all made up. Then I have to find in my head the proper way to pronounce them. When on audiobook, I can just listen to it, you know. As for the sources where I find my books, this is the chart. When I have a library, this includes my local French library, my library on Libby, and Scribd. Scribd is a service kind of like Audible, but where you have an access to an unlimited amount of books per month, and you only pay, I think I pay €9 per month to listen to Scribd, which is fantastic. And they have a super wide range of books, bigger than my library, and you have no waiting list. And on Scribd you have ebooks and audiobooks. I use mainly the audiobook service, but when you read too much in 1 month, sometimes some titles you do not have access until the 25th of that month. So that happened to me a few times, but there is always so many stuff to read. Like, you never have all the books you want to read pushed back to the next month. So that's fine. I am very happy with that. I tend not to buy a lot of books because I don't have a lot of English bookstore around me, and so I'm not too tempted about that. And I like buying secondhand. I like that a book has been loved before, has been read before, and sometimes you find a little gem in there where people write or, you know, dog ear the pages. I love that. And also when a book is not a 5-star and I bought it, I'm like, no, why did I do that? Like, why did I spend that money in this? And sometimes I don't have physical copy of my favorites, and so I cannot lend them to friends, or I cannot talk about them like physically holding them in my hand and wanting to reread them. So most of the books that I buy, I actually bought them after I've read them, and I know they are very close to my heart. Next part, it's my favorite part, my favorite pie, is the genre. I have done it by number of pages instead of like number of books. So if I read like 7 books in high fantasy, but they were like 20,000 pages, I think it reflects better what I've actually read this year. So yeah, you can see I've read a lot of high fantasy. Thank you, Stormlight Archives. But also low fantasy. Fantasy is my favorite genre, you know that. But also mystery. I was quite surprised because, yeah, of course, I've read a lot of Agatha Christie this year, and I've read some other mysteries, and I'm on a big kick of Carrie Greenwood, Miss Fisher books. But I didn't know it was amounted to that many. It's a bit of a surprise, but I really enjoyed it. I feel like mystery in between epic high fantasy, a little mystery book is like a palate cleanser. I love that for me. Another palate cleanser of mine is nonfiction. I love starting my month with reading a nonfiction and learning on a new subject or getting deeper into a societal subject that really intrigued me or really interests me. I want to continue that this year. I've already done a little TBR for next year, and I've added to that true crime books. I think I have 2 so far, which might be really interesting, mixing like the nonfiction and the mystery part of what I like together. Other genre that I quite enjoy as well is classic, contemporary. I'm quite happy with those figures, so I want to keep it that way. Science fiction, I want to try and explore a bit more with science fiction and get out of the Asimov books. As much as I love them, I want to expand on other stuff. I don't know if I would love like First Contact with Alien or more dystopian things, but I want to try. So I have added a few books to my list as well. And if you have any recommendation, let me know where to start in science fiction. I would love that. Also historical fiction. I haven't read a lot, and I quite enjoy what I read about historical fiction, and it's a way for me to travel as well. Reading historical fiction that are not set in my own country, I can explore more about the history and the society in different countries. So I want to read more of that. I bought on my trip to New York last January, what is it called? The Fountains of Silence by Ruta Zapetis, which is a young adult science fiction in Spain. I have bought the physical copy. I haven't read it yet. Yeah, this is going on my list. And finally, explore a bit more with thriller because I love mysteries so much. So I think I would like thriller too. In my head, thriller is so linked to gore and horror, and even horror. I think I might like suspense horror. I always envision in my head like gore when it's not just that. So I want to explore a bit more and see if I enjoy it. I'm very easily scared. The only thing that I'm scared of is getting too emotionally invested in the character and the book and getting scarred from that. Okay, last little bit of figure for this video. Gender that I read, simplified of course. I was happily surprised to see that I read more women than male. I think it's a good balance around there, the two-thirds to one-third. So I want to keep it that way. Another one is my ratio reading French to English. I've read very little French this year. The only French I've read is French classic, and I want to continue to that. Me and Christy want to read the Count of Monte Cristo this year, so that would change the figure by a lot because this book is massive. And in terms of if I knew the author or if it's a new to me author, I am pretty happy with those figures as well. I love rereading books. This is so comforting for me sometimes when my life is unraveling. I just go back to a book that I already love. This year was Brandon Sanderson. I've reread Stormlight Archive twice, Warbreaker, and I want to do another reread soon. I love Warbreaker, and Skyward. I love Skyward. And just tabbing the books while I reread them. I usually do not tab a book on my first read unless I have very strong emotion toward it, like with Illuminae. It was more on the bad, but that was on the bad side. I hated it so much I tabbed it. But when I love a book, I am so invested in the story that I don't get enough time to tab it. And then when I reread it, that's when I tab it. This reread is like I'm doing a buddy read with myself. Is that narcissistic? Last one is the age demographic of what I'm reading. I'm reading way more adults than anything else, and I kind of like it that way. I've tried middle grade a few times and I ended up DNFing them. Let me know if you want to see a DNF list of mine, and maybe I will do something where you can vote for me to reread one of them, like till the end. Let me know if that will be something you'd like. But that's it for the figures. Yay, we finished it. This video is more to indulge me than anything else, but if you were interested in it, I'm very happy. All right, we'll see each other in 2021, and till then, take care of yourself. Bye.